Good night, everyone. Let me see. Scheduled. Good night, y'all. Good night, everyone. Good night, good night, good night, good night.
On my
Good night,
my
everyone. You guys so much for joining us tonight. Good. Perfect. Yes. I love that view. I love it. I love it. I love it. Beautiful. Um,
everything.
Relevant. Would you mind starting the IG?
Sure,
And
I'm
then
actually
I
on IG at the moment. Um, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add you. Um,
go ahead.
are you on IG at the moment?
I am. Yeah.
Alright.
I'm gonna turn down my
Beautiful.
volume on here so we're straight. All right.
Right, right.
Okay.
Give me a minute. Let's
So
see.
that's you, and yeah, perfect.
Like I'm on
Good night,
IG.
baby G. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. If you haven't, how do I request to join? Yes, request.
Yeah. Did you
Yes,
just do it? All right, cool.
I did.
All right.
Beautiful.
Um, hey Star, what's going on? Go ahead and
Hey, how's it going?
text them in the group to come live. All right. There you go.
Good.
All right. So we're
Nice.
live on both
We,
platforms.
nice, nice. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Tonight is the last day of October, and we are giving awareness on actually understanding that this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And in
Mhm.
wrapping up the month, we wanted to come together to do a duo to talk about some of the things that are happening in domestic violence in our household and things that does not get seen by the public, especially by men. So as you come in, guys, go ahead and hit the like button. Don't forget to like,
Right.
share, and subscribe. I think the echo in the background from one of them is going on.
What I just did, I turn it down. All right.
So if I do that for now, it's going to work just for right now. And then we'll pick up back from there. But thank you guys so much for joining in tonight. Go ahead, hit the like button. Don't forget to share, subscribe with someone. And thank you so much. I know I normally don't go on live tonight, but like I said, I wanted to share because it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we're here to talk some things about it. I know all the time women, we do talk about the things that's going on with us. We do talk about the violence, the domestic abuse, and the things that we go through. We do talk about these things a lot. But men do face abuse as well, too, and they don't speak about it. They're mostly silenced at times. You know, their voices are not heard. They're not validated. And this forces men to sit quiet about the things that they're going through because society now has put them in a position to feel ashamed of the things that they've experienced and the things that they've gone through because it makes them look that they're less of a man. And now they internalize these things and make it a monster inside them, and it becomes an explosive, and they're not able to express these emotions and feelings that they're going through because they're shunned and silenced in order to express themselves and talk about the things that they're going through. So tonight is a night where I'm so excited, guys, that my friend Relevant Boss has taken time from his busy day to come hang out with me and to talk with you guys and to share and to bring awareness to this platform. I can introduce you to him a little bit, and I'll tell you a little bit about him. We went to school together, and he would make fun of me because of my last year of high school. I finally decided to date, and the guy that I was dating was a bit shorter than me. So he had jokes on me all the time and would tell me that I'm bending down to kiss this boy and stuff like that in school. So we go way back. I was on the cheerleading squad. They were on the track team and soccer team. So we had a really good time in school. and we had a really good relationship. And I'm so proud of Relevant right now because I've watched him gone through abusive relationship in the early days of Facebook. And it was advertised across Facebook. And behind the scenes, I was scared for my friend. And I didn't know what to do because I was friends with both of them. And I didn't know what to do. So I was torn between a rock and a hard place. But respectfully, I stayed out of it. If I saw something that was a bit much, I would squeeze him to the side in a message and talk to him privately about it, but never anything out of the ordinary. And I saw him go through this, and just to see who he is right now, he's a dancehall artist right now, and he has a big fancy word for you, and I'm gonna let him introduce that part of it for us, right? So I got a chance to see him evolve and grow coming out of what he came out of, and to become a role model, an inspiration, an artist, a man who is out there in the community, giving back to the community, sharing his talent, and sitting behind that piano and touching the notes and reaching hearts of many. And I do commend you, my friend, Relevant. So I'm going to turn it over to him so he can talk and share with you guys so you could get some nuggets tonight. You guys, thank you again for joining in. Sit back. Let's enjoy this ride.
I thought that was an absolutely wonderful introduction. We're gonna get a little feedback because I guess we're doing both phones. In high school, had a wonderful friendship, and as she said, it is doing the feedback again.
Hold on, I know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's my I'm gonna mute my phone while you speak.
Right. Yeah. No, it's not. It's actually still feeding. It's doing the feedback.
Because you are my special guest on tonight, we want to hear from you. We want to hear about domestic abuse on men. What does that look like? You know, why did you stay? What was going on? And walk us through what that looks like. You don't have to be too detailed, but just help us to understand, what does it look like from a male perspective? Because we hear about females so often and we don't hear about the men. So we would like to hear from you.
All right. So I think the first thing is the fact that for you to express yourself as a man, it's doing that thing. criticize or look down on is not there. You literally have to internalize a lot of these emotions and feelings that you go through as a man. Um, and I think that's the most difficult part of domestic abuse that men actually face, is the fact that there's no real outlet. The minute you start talking about it, the minute you start expressing it, you are put in a category of being feminine or weak. So to maintain your masculine that masculine aura, men typically take the road to say, you know what, I'll deal with it silently, and I'll hold all that pain in, and I won't let it out. And I think that's the first step that needs to happen. We have to allow men to be able to express what's really going on with them without critiquing them negatively for expressing themselves. And I think that's an important thing. I'll also I'll also add to that. Um, for I'm gonna be transparent, and she said a little bit about it earlier. I did go through a very difficult time where it's not about we're not going to identify who was wrong or right, but it was pretty much a separation. And um, during the separation, there were some things done to me that were very aggressive, and I've gotten over it now. Man, so many things have happened for me since then, but it was a difficult stage. And let us also identify the fact that um, having a father figure in your life to help to guide your steps as a man, to teach you how to operate as a man, is very important. I feel like one of the things I grew up with I grew up in a situation where is a single mother. So I didn't have emotional direction and what to do. If I stumble upon this, I didn't know what to do, how to go about it. So I had to figure it out in the moment as to how to respond to these things, right? So I came into this world and I'm forced in all these different situations. I don't know how to respond. In event that something goes wrong, I don't know how to respond to this thing going wrong. And I feel like I had to figure that out while going through so many raw emotions, um, all over the place. And I will say, looking back at it, some of the responses that I made then, I wouldn't have done it now. But I didn't have any direction. So I had to figure it out in the moment. And while trying to figure it out, I really did make a lot of mistake in responding. One of the things that I've learned now sometimes is you just gotta operate with a little bit more wisdom. You can't just, as soon as something happens, just start jumping off and going into it. You got to sit down, you got to think, you got to probably analyze it with other people, get other people to help you to make these decisions. So I think that's another thing. Guys, talk to somebody. Talk to somebody, get wise counsel, surround yourself with people who are educated and can assist you with putting your thoughts together. Because as you're going through a difficult moment, it's hard for you to make sense of everything when you're in that space of dealing with all those raw emotions. So it's very important that you get assistance to make everything make sense, to, you know what I mean? Put everything within context. What do you think, Vanessa?
So, as you know, for this one, what I think about a situation like this is that I like the fact that you touch on a father figure. And I think that's something that, for me as well, I lacked. My father died when I was 3. So I never grew up with a dad. So I did not have that male influence in my life. And I didn't know what it was like to be loved from the opposite sex. I never received that. So for me, I was open to love when I thought I found it, because I dated before and I never given anyone that time of day because I didn't know how to, express myself to the opposite sex. I didn't know how to do that. I never grew up with a dad. And as you said, having that male figure for someone to look up to, for someone to travel in that direction, as a role model, as a guide, because as a young man growing up, mommy's going to do the best that she can. And I promise you, shout out to all the single moms and single dad as well too, because I know as a mom, they're going to do the best that they can for their children. And a mom could do as much as she can with a man, but a man still needs a man's role model, because men do things a lot different from women. And I think I totally see where you're coming from with having that male figure in your life, that dad figure to say, guide me, lead me. When I get these emotions, what do I do with them? How do I treat a woman? What are some of the things that I need to do? What is a woman looking for, Dad? You've been down this road. You know what it's like. What is a woman looking for? How do I take care of a woman? I don't even know what to do. So simple things like this is where not knowing what to do, being now put in a position of manhood, you're going to handle it the best way you can. And a lot of times your first decision and choice that you make is to act out of frustration or to act out of anger. And that's not the way how to go about a situation, as we're learning now. Because I do have a short fuse as well. I do. And my short fuse is to walk away. Because if I don't walk away, I think I'm going to be physical. And I'm not the one to be physical first, but I know me, so I'll walk away. And by me doing that, it creates an issue for the other person. So having these role models and figures in our life will help us to understand how to handle situations when they come about, how to deal with our emotions, and how to deal with our anger so we could process things much better. I'll give it back to you now.
I don't think there's enough emphasis placed on experiencing love from both gender. Um, I think most of us as Caribbean men, we grew up knowing what it feels like to be loved by our mom. We know what it feels like to be loved by a woman. We date women. We're always experiencing love from women. So we're very conscious of what that type of love feels like. But the love that comes from um, a man, not a man such as your father, um, we don't experience that. There's absolutely no, there's just no understanding. And I just feel like it really leaves a void in us as a man, not getting that masculine love. Do you know how many black men, and not just black men, just men in general, grew up and never got a hug from their dad? They don't know what it feels like to hear a man say, I love you. You're going to be great. The reassurance that comes from a man. I feel like there are a lot of men who had to grow up not understanding any of that. And even now, I have a son and I constantly hug him and tell him that I love him. And I'm sure his mom do the same thing. But the reason why I know the impact of not having that, of not being exposed to that, did to me, it, as you said earlier, it's like it put me in a wilderness. It put me in this jungle to figure my way out on my own. And here I am out in this jungle, having no understanding. So now, as a man, I don't have that father figure who's supposed to help me deal with all these emotions. Do you know how many things it's funny this conversation came up. I recently said that I'm gonna tell you something. I hate my father. I can honestly say I hate my dad. And it's not because he wasn't a great provider. It wasn't because of none of the other reasons. The number one reason why I use the word hate when it comes on to my father is there are so many things that he knew that I was going to experience. He experienced it himself. He saw a lot of things. He knew it was inevitable for me to come in contact with these things. And there was no form of preparation done to ensure that when it's my time to experience the same thing he's been through, there was absolutely no preparation done to put me in a good position to handle these things. So therefore, everything that I came across, I easily became a victim of those things simply because I did not have the guidance that comes from a male figure. My mom tried. She tried, but at the end of the day, my mom, she's a woman. She cannot relate to all the things that I experienced as a young boy. She can't guide me. So I needed that. So I feel like one of the reasons why so many men are beating on women, if they saw a man love a woman, they would understand why abusing a woman it's not a good thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Um, so these are just some of the things that I've discovered. What do you have to say?
Right. I I just noticed that someone put a comment in here. I'll read this to you guys. It's from Instagram. It says, "We're taught that men who show those emotions are weak. So they divert from saying, 'I love you' and stuff like that to their sons, especially." So this is not just a one-sided issue that's facing here. This is really a generational issue because now you're weak for expressing yourself. You're weak for showing emotions. You're weak for being nurturing and caring and a protector. You're weak for doing these things. But then society holds you to a standards to say women are supposed to be loved, they're supposed to be nurtured, and they're supposed to be cared for. So woman requires affection, love, and attention from a man. But then if a man is so weak to express himself, why would he be emotional with you? Why would he come and share and be soft with you when society calls that weak? Why is he now considered a weak man for showing his emotions and his feelings and expressing himself to you? So we as women, we require emotion, right? We want you to be emotional. But when you start being emotional and expressing yourself, society says that you're weak. So where does the man find a comfort? Where does he get comfort to come and rest his head, to share his most vulnerable time with you and to become vulnerable with you as a woman if you're not creating that humble, safe space for him to come and feel like he's not weak? So we have to help you guys create that safe space as well too, right? So men on a whole, I think it affects them from showing that emotion because of the pressure that society brings on. And now society has make it normal and normalize it that men should not show these emotions. So now the next generation is coming out not being affectionate, not showing love, and not nurturing each other. So now here are young boys, their dad is not telling them that they love them. Their dad is not telling them, being affectionate with them because it makes them look some kind of way, right? So we're setting up the next generation to repeat the same cycle. So when does the cycle get broken? How does the cycle get broken?
I think one of the things that we can add to that is, how do I offer my truth without that judgmental energy being redirected towards me, right? I think that's one of the biggest things too with men. I want to be able to be transparent about what I'm experiencing, how it's impacting me, and I want to be able to do that without without being judged. And it's some of the things is not it's not just about the fact that we're considered weak. Our perspective on life is not appreciated at times. Like our way of thinking is not appreciated. And I think that is also a concern. There's 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 no room. I don't know if you realize there's a lot of times not there's no room for us to be true to who we are and what we're feeling. And I think that should be highlighted as one of the things that affect. I'm gonna say something to you. I genuinely feel that most men are living without expressing their truth. I think most men have learned to internalize their truth because their truth is not accepted, and there is nasty disdain towards them being honest about what they're feeling at times. And I feel like if we become more like I think I've always said this, I believe that if we become more understanding to each other, the gender, you're a woman, um if I become more understanding to what makes you a woman and you become more understanding to what makes me a man, and we're able to have very honest dialogue and just, I think that would create such a beautiful space for us to operate if we can both operate in our most, honest stage. Like, but having to walk around and carry a lot of, to internalize so much and not be able to express it, it really suppresses you and just make you, I could see where that could easily lead to depression. And I feel like there's a lot of men, there's no space for them to communicate what they're actually experiencing. And they have to internalize it. They literally walk around with so much in them that they can't let anyone know.
So I appreciate what you said just now, and I like the fact that you touched on the communication aspect of things, right? That both people need to have a level of communication, because remember, men expresses themselves much different from women, right? Men are, they're mostly the guys that's going to fix it. They want to fix it. It's a quick solve, they want to solve the issue really quickly. Whereas a woman will take a longer time to express herself, will kind of express in more details. And sometimes being cut off or being short with a woman can now bring frustration, and it builds up at times. So oftentimes when you start speaking, she already know you're going to cut her off, or you're going to cut the conversation pretty quickly. So at this point now she's starting to reserve communicating with you. So you guys both are now not communicating on the same page. So both of you guys are starting to go left with your communication. But at what point, right? Because someone put a comment here and I'm going to read it, right? It says pretty much, at what point in our lives do we mature and say that, yes, we didn't have one of our parents in our life, but I know the right thing, right? Right from wrong, pretty much. So how do you handle a situation like that to say, okay, yes, mom did the best that she could, right? Dad wasn't around, so I feel like I'm very resentful towards him. I have anger towards him. Do you feel like that anger towards him display in your relationship with the woman at times?
If there's an impact that an absent father figure has, right? And we should never, we have to bring awareness to what happens when that father figure isn't present, right? We have to, I know sometimes we just want to move past it. I know sometimes we just want to say, let's let's grow up. Let's pick up the pieces and stuff like that. But I feel like there needs to be more emphasis placed on acknowledging how it is holding us back. And you and I are both African Americans. We're both black. And in our community, this affects us a little bit more then it affects others. Not having that masculine guidance, it really, really, really mess up a lot for us, not from financially, from decision making. It's, and I feel like why we could pick up the pieces, why we could try to make sense of it. If we don't actually acknowledge it, have the conversation and address it and call it for what it is, it's just going to go over to the next generation, and it's going to keep going and keep going. So I feel like we shouldn't just get into the mode of like, let's just move past it. I feel like we should actually have the conversation. We should constantly ring it in people's ears, let them hear this is affecting us negatively. This has affected us negatively. We should do it, and I don't think we should be scared to have that honest conversation.
I totally agree with you.
I totally agree with having that conversation. And for me, it always goes back to making healthy choices and healthy decisions when choosing a partner. I really think it goes back to choosing a partner and some of the qualities that you're looking for someone to have a child with, even if you guys are not going to be married and be in a relationship forever. You want to understand who you're having children with. I think that's so important, because if it's someone who does not have certain values or qualities, or is someone who is not reliable, and at the first sign of trouble, they want to escape, this is someone who's not going to be around for the long haul. This is not someone who's going to be around to take care of their responsibility. If this is someone who their priorities are not in order, these are red flags. These are signs to pay attention to in the early dating phases, so that it doesn't go over into something more. And then later on, you're saying that I saw this all in the beginning and I did not pay attention to it because I was operating at a place of lack, whether it's lack of just emotion and just to fill a void for that moment. But these long-term consequences create broken men. And not making conscious decisions when we're choosing partners does create something like this. But even though it creates something like this, right? We've gone through schooling. We've gone through different programs. We've gone through different things, colleges, different community societies, where we are exposed to things that make sense. We're exposed to right things. We're exposed to things that are wrong. So when you're now exposed to life and see what life looks like, there has to be a point in time, and correct me if I'm wrong, where you have to free yourself so much and let go of this parent that you feel that have caused you wrong, that have done something that that did not do something that they were supposed to do as a parent. Because not because everyone has children means that they're parents. Not because you're having children does not mean that you have the mentality of being a parent to that child. You know, not because I'm a mom does not mean I'm the best mom. You know, I could just have the kids and not pay them any attention, not give them that affection, that nurturing, that tenderness that they need, because I just wanted to have a child. So I don't understand the responsibility that comes with having children and the nurturing that they need to continue on. And it's the same thing for a man. So when we're making these decisions and having children with men, we want to understand who we're having children with, right? And make sure that this is a man who understands his responsibility, and just see how he operates in life. See the things that he's doing for himself, how he handles his finances, how he handles himself. See how he handles himself. Because you are a responsible person, he's a responsible person. Then if both people are responsible, and both you guys come together, that's a healthier dynamics to walk into. Nobody says it's going to be perfect and it's going to last forever, but you see how each other handles situation. You see the responsibility level. So if I'm not saying this is your dad, pardon me, right? But I'm just speaking on behalf of men. So if this is a man that is just a quick fix and end up staying longer than a quick fix, right? We encounter situations like this. We stumble upon situations like this because We did not take the time to find out, where is this man going? What is his values? What is his purpose in life? What is he really doing for himself? Is he just out here running around? What is going on? So we don't take time to find out these things. And I'm guilty for that. I'm very guilty for doing stuff like that as well. Not doing these things, but being able to share this information now, I think I'm taking the opportunity to share the information because I feel it's necessary for us to have these conversations with our younger generation so they could do things better than what we did. Because here we are now dealing with one parent household, you know, or the child is angry because a parent is missing, and now they're operating from a place of lack. And now that void, that emptiness cannot be replaced by no one else. They'll always think about that parent that is missing. So it doesn't matter how long it takes for them to express this. It might be when they're our age now, right? And going back to childhood traumas so that they can heal from these childhood traumas, because in the first 7 years of a child's life, they're developing, they're learning everything about survival. So what we teach in them and what we instill in them is what's going to take them into life. So very crucial years of a child's life is in the early stages, and they're being molded at this time. And if we're not giving them this love, affection, and nurturing, and we're going from partner to partner and bouncing around with these children, we are setting them up for failure. But at some point, we have to now turn that reflection inside and put it back on ourselves and say, I'm not going to be him, or I'm not going to be her. And I'm going to do what I know I need to do, and I'm going to make the right decision. I don't know what he was going through as a dad during that stage in his life, what his priorities were. Clearly, I wasn't one of them, right? And when we come to that term to accept it and realize that it is what it is, that does not dictate who you are going forward. It doesn't give a pass to be aggressive. It doesn't give a pass to be angry at society, or even angry at women. Society already makes it hard for us as African Americans. And I'm not just saying us alone, because there's other cultures that it's hard for as well too. But I'm just saying, because we're on this platform speaking, I'm just speaking here, right? It's already hard for us. So when we come to that knowledge and that awareness and understanding that you must be really messed up to not want to take care of your children and your responsibility. You have to be messed up in the head. Somewhere mentally something happened where you are not taking care of your responsibility. Because me as a parent, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Even if I need a break from my children, I'd rather take a vacation and have them get a babysitter, a nanny, to get a break, because you do need a break from your children. We're not going to act like we don't. We do, right? So if that's the situation, get a week's pay and pay for babysitting, and take your mental rehab time. You need to rehab. You need to recoup. These are important things to get done. So it's not that you don't love your kids. You do love your kids. But you need a balance, a healthy, balanced lifestyle. Because if you're not in a healthy mental place, you cannot provide that healthy mental space for your child. You cannot raise your children in an unhealthy place if your mental is unhealthy. So the more you take care of yourself is the more you'll be able to take care of your children and to do for them and provide that space for them.
You can hear me? Okay. You just touched on so many great points, man. I listened to you just now. One of the main reasons why I carry this nasty feeling towards my father is, do you know how evil? And we don't want to call it for what it is, but we need to. We got to stop dancing around this thing.
That's how you
Do
heal.
you know how evil it is to participate in bringing a child into this world, right? It was the child had nothing to do with this decision, but you agreed with the child's mother to engage in, to bring the child here. And now you brought the child into this foreign environment, and knowing that they're weak, they know nothing, and you leave them. You leave them in this jungle, just roaming, to be taken advantage of by every trap, every situation, every obstacle. And you move on and you go live your life in peace. You do everything you got to do for yourself, completely disregarding this responsibility. There, you said something that I like, because it's not identified as a psychological issue. It's to me, it's a huge mental issue. I want you to think about it for a second. Just think about just knowing that not even an animal kingdom, you don't see that. They're very protective of, you know, their cubs or any. They're very protective. For you to be a father, to bring that child into the world and to just walk away and pretend like it doesn't exist. There's no way you could be completely sane in your mind. To me, that is connected to having a mental illness. And I think it should be identified as such. I think we should treat it as such. And there's just no other way to look at it. And when you said it, it really resonated with me, because like I said, this is one of the reasons why I have such a nasty disdain towards my father, because forget about just the financial part of it. Like I said, it's just leaving the child out here to fend for themselves through every challenges that life have to offer. Now that child is forced to fall down frequently, and not every time you fall. Here's the thing about sometimes when you fall down, you can't hit a reset button. You fall down, you're going to be a victim of this for the rest of your life. Some of these things, some of these obstacles that you come in contact with, they damage you permanently. You live with the impact of them permanently. So for me, to be honest with you, I've said it, and I'm known in my family for being, I'm very open about this. I'm probably one of the only person who's open about it. I have zero respect for what my dad did, how he handled himself, how he conducted himself. Um, and I'm very open about it. I believe that everyone should actually, if we start having those conversations more, and really calling it for what it is, we could start addressing some things within our community. But if we keep dodging, if we keep making excuses, if we keep giving passes, if we keep doing all those things, then the cycle just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. We have to have the conversation. We got to hold people accountable. We got to connect the dots and understand how disregarding um, fatherly love towards your child, how disregarding the importance of those things is impacting, um, just impacting their entire life, and it's causing them to, we'll go back to the initial point, abuse, right? It causes them to engage in abuse, and also to not know how to respond to abuse, or to even block abuse. There's so many areas of abuse that go ahead.
Let me try to do this mic thing. Okay, there we go. My apologies. When I get professional stuff going on, I'll handle that piece of it, right? Our conversation tonight, I can tell you that I love it. It was very organic, very transparent, and I appreciate your honesty about what we spoke about tonight. And I could tell you that when you start understanding mental health and understanding that mental health and mental abuse is real, and mental abuse stems from, I don't want to give too much information on that right now. And it's not, it's a lot, and I'm not a medical doctor to give that information. So I'm just going to say a few things that contributes, okay, to mental abuse is manipulation, right? A lot of time in our culture, we're Jamaican. So in our culture, it's stemmed around manipulation. I'm going to be honest with you. Manipulation is something where everyone wants to outdo the other person. Everyone wants to, I'm gonna get what you have, and I'm envious and I'm jealous of you. So I'm gonna play games with your emotion, and I'm gonna play games with you and play games with your, it's not a game. It's real life. This is people's feelings, and this is real people here that we're dealing with. So when these manipulation and these games start to play, it's messing with your brain, because you have to think about these things, and you have to think how you're going to play with someone's emotion. You're going to have 10 different women or 5 different men to do different things. That's a game. So there's dishonesty there. There's deceitfulness happening there. So when these things get exposed now, it creates a broken heart. It creates trauma. It creates a lot of different things that we don't address these things, but it messes your mental. It messes with your mental. And the longer you internalize these things and keep them in, it gets harder and it becomes worse. A lot of time you'll see doctors or physicians or some great career people become homeless and mad and on the street, because it's a mental pressure. It's so important, because if I get a wound, a scar or something, you'll be able to see it, right? Because it's on the exterior. But when it's healing, it really heals from the inside out. So I didn't see the healing process. I just saw the results. So what does that tell you? That whatever is going on the inside, the exterior is a result of what's going on the inside. So it really goes back and stems right back to the mental, because we cannot see the brain. We cannot see what's going on the inside. So we only see the result of what's already been done on the inside. So the more we forgive, because we don't know what somebody is going through, we don't know what people are facing, we don't know what they've been through, because you cannot see it. It's easy for someone to put on a front, to put a good foot forward and to stand up as if everything is okay and they're strong and you put on a show, put on a mask. It's really a mask. And when the mask falls off, you do not want to deal with who's behind that mask, because they didn't take the time to heal. They didn't take the time to go inward and say, I've been through trauma. I've been through abuse. I've been through things that mess me up mentally, and I need to recoup. I cannot continue like this. I don't want to continue with anger. I don't want to continue, but how do you recognize that this is happening to you? How are you able to point these things out? When you step away from continuously dating repeatedly, that's when you start to learn more about yourself. When you take a break from always having someone in your immediate space, you'll start to learn more about yourself, and you'll start to understand who you are. You'll be able to see and to get your identity back, and then you'll be able to move forward. But if you're constantly occupied with a partner, you have lost yourself a long time ago, and you really don't know who you are. But the moment you take a step back to start facing these things and dealing with them and healing from them and recovering from them, is the stronger you become and the more healthier you become to now start healthy relationships. And I know it's going to be hard for you. And I know what I'm saying right now is probably hard in the sense of forgiving your dad, but you have to release that piece of you inside of you and understand that mom and dad, and I did the same thing. I'm here being transparent as well too. I did the same thing. Even y'all saw me in high school. I did not know my dad's name. Not even his name I knew in high school, okay? And I was so angry at my mom. I was very angry at my mother, because I felt the worst days for me was Father's Day. Those were the worst days for me, Father's Day, because I didn't have a dad. I was so rebellious in high school that I was that girl wearing black mostly, right? And I will put the double chain around my waist and wear stuff let me unmute you, just because of how I was feeling angry inside. And until I started to face my traumas, that's when I started to really, get past this. Let me go ahead.
My biggest concern with letting it go and move forward, I believe that opens the door for repetitive actions, not necessarily towards me, but do you know how many people I can heal through having the conversation, through just us being on the live? If there was a man on the live that is currently involved in a relationship that was going to disregard his responsibility as a father, if he was on the live, he would reconsider doing that because of the words that we've shared tonight. Silencing, while I could see where you could look at it from personal healing standpoint, it doesn't help with the big problem. And that's my problem with not talking about it. And you could say, you know what, I could let it go within my heart, but you can't let go of talking about it. That is what allows it to keep going. And we're
Absolutely. You
only going
have
to keep
to.
experiencing this. This needs to be identified. The conversation needs to be had daily, frequently, and it needs to come out of darkness and be put in light. And if we keep it in
Absolutely.
darkness through teaching people to get over it, move on, then the victim rate increases drastically. So I believe it's very important that at no point, I'm always going to talk about my father. I'm always going to make it clear that no man should aspire to be anything like my father. I'm always going to use him as an example of what being worthless looks like, so that the next man who is on the verge of being worthless or currently being worthless, I can show him that the road to that is a better child like myself, is a child who is going to come and talk about it. This is how it can end. Instead of me sitting here giving praises to say, man, I had such a great role model, I had a great male figure. Instead, I'm using my platform, my time to talk about the pain. And only two things can happen. I could talk about the pain or I could silence it. Silencing don't benefit my community. So one of the things I really feel like we should not advocate for is to keeping it in. We cannot keep it in. Express it. Now you don't have to let it drive your day-to-day movements and your thought process or what you're doing, but never get to the place where you participate in keeping it in darkness. That is just as equivalent as supporting the action and keeping it. You know what I mean? That's what I think. A YouTube channel that I think I saw some of the content. I would love for you guys to run over there, follow her, not only on Instagram, but definitely on her YouTube channels. As you can see, she articulates her points very well, and she has a lot of perspective on a lot of different topics, different things. And I think that this is the type of what we nowadays in our society, if a girl posts completely like semi-nude, she gets a lot of following. A lot of people are interested to 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 interact with her. However, someone like you that clearly is full with information that can assist with the development of people, their mind, though a lot of times it's a struggle to get people to understand the value of what you have to offer. So to the people who are on the live, I want to encourage you guys, when you come across a black woman who is heading down the right path of helping our community to have a clearer mind as to how to do things, we should embrace such person. We should get behind them. And if we begin to do this as a people, I can see where we would advance and get much further. Go ahead. I'm done for the night.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Relevant Boss. Listen, I appreciate what we spoke about. It's so much, we have unpacked tonight. We could take bits and pieces and make it into a whole session, We've unpacked so much, and I'm never someone, the title of my channel, right? The name of my channel, my YouTube channel is Healing Your Silence, the same name as my Instagram name, same spelling, no space in between. Go ahead, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and, share the information with someone. This is what, is getting done on this platform, and inviting people on to talk about stuff. Let's get to it, and let's, go through a lot of stuff. Even though it says Healing Your Silence, I came up with that name not because I think you should heal and be silent about it. That's not what it is. It's that, too long we've all been suffering in silence and have to sit quiet and continue to suffer in silence. So I'm just saying that silence, we're going to heal that silence. That's really what it is. We're going to heal the silence because we're no longer going to be silent about the things that we were forced to be silent about. So Healing Your Silence is really a platform to start healing your silence. So you can do it silently, or you can do it like we're doing it right now, but we're not going to sit and be quiet about this stuff. And to add on to your point, right? You could forgive your dad and be free and free yourself from him, but that doesn't mean you can't speak about it. Absolutely not, because the situation that I went through, you guys are on here. You don't know a lot about me, but for those who have known me, or you could check out my story on my page, I'm very transparent. I share information on there. I'm very open about stuff, right? I was in a narcissistic, abusive marriage for 13 years. And I didn't know what I was dealing with because, as we know, as I've learned, it's mental. You don't see mental abuse. You don't see when someone is manipulating you and, playing with your emotion, and it creates psychological damages and gaslighting you and stuff like that. And we could go into that another time. But I'm just saying that I was silenced in that marriage. I was silenced. I was not happy, but I was too ashamed to speak up. I was too ashamed to come out of it. I was too embarrassed because the person I was in high school, not to be accepting something like this, and it's not to say that I was better or, anything different in high school. That's not what it was. We had a really good unity in school. We really supported each other. So, and we were brilliant kids. We were brilliant. We were headed for success. A lot of us, we came out being very good people. So to be caught up in a situation like this, I was so embarrassed. I was so ashamed to talk about it. And the more you put shame in front of your voice, you become more silenced, and you're now behind the shame and you don't speak about it. So absolutely, when you're going through stuff, you want to heal from it. You want to accept it. You want to become one with whatever you're going through, but don't be silenced about it. Talk about it. And if it bothers you and you feel like your voice can help other people and share to empower someone else, absolutely, let's get on it and let's do it. Do not let someone who's gotten away scotch-free abusing you walk free because you think that, oh, I just don't want to say anything. If you're comfortable and you're not bashing this person, because you don't have to bash someone to speak your truth. Your truth is your truth. Your experience is your experience, and you cannot take away someone's experience. How someone feels about something, you cannot downplay it. You cannot take it away. You cannot dismiss it. So I respect you for, how you feel about what you went through. And I so appreciate you coming on tonight to share this information with everyone and to let everyone know you don't have to be ashamed. You don't have to be ashamed of anything that you're going through, and you could speak up about it, because stuff like this, if you continue to be silenced, then you're going to endure abuse. You're going to give abuse as a man. And whether it be mental abuse, psychological abuse, financial abuse, whatever abuse it's going to be, it will become abuse in your relationship. And men do suffer. Back to our original topic, right? Men get abuse and men go through abuse. And you've shared with us tonight that you've gone through psychological abuse, mental abuse. This is what you've just expressed to us since night. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in a relationship, in an intimate relationship with a man and a woman. It comes from your own parents, your own family members, your community. It stems from your surrounding, your environment. So I applaud you for coming on and shining light on the situation. And, you know, I definitely want us to dive in a little bit more. So I'll give you back the floor again. Let me do my little stuff. Go ahead, love.
As you know, I'm gonna have to run. However, I wanna throw something very light, which is off the topic, but something I'm gonna tell you about an experience that I have with you that you don't remember. I'm like 99% sure that you don't remember this, and I wanna
Go for it. Go for
I
it.
wanna highlight this to everyone who is on the live. I'm gonna share something right now. I know she doesn't remember, but it's a positive thing. So when I left high school, I never had my papers, right? And at the time, I wanted to further my education, further just my life. I was very ambitious and I wanted more for myself. And I was going to sit home and drown in my sorrows. However, I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the supermarket and I'm going to bag my groceries there. And it was sort of embarrassing for me because I was going to meet people who I went to high school with who didn't know my situation. But here I am, while everybody's diving into their different areas, I was left to be a packer, you know, at the supermarket. And I'll never forget the day when I was there doing my normal routine, which is to put groceries in the bag, just trying to make a little living, just trying to survive. You walk through the doors of that supermarket. Now, you probably don't remember this, and I'll never forget it. You walked through the doors and you came down my aisle and I bagged your groceries and you tipped me. It was the weirdest situation ever because it was embarrassment, but it was also comforting because there were other people who I saw there that ridiculed me, but you tipped me, and it was there's nothing about it. Look down, you didn't look down on me at once, and I'll never forget that. And so as I'm sitting here on the live, so much has changed for me since then. You know, I'm an American citizen now, and you know, I'm in a much better place financially in different areas. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, look at us now on the live having a conversation many years later. And this goes to show you never know where life is going to take people. That's why you got to be nice at all times, because things happen in its unique way. Now, I don't have much time in left, but I'll let her close it off. Go ahead.
Aww. Relevant boss. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you. That was an amazing story. I didn't remember it, but you did. And, you know, as we know, it just goes to show you I am who I am. And obviously I didn't change. You know, I am the same person, regardless of whatever I've went through or whatever I've gone through. And this was in our young days, you know, right out of high school and stuff like that. And I've always been that type of person. So I appreciate you for recognizing who I am and stuff like that and appreciating that. And it helped you because guess what? I spend my whole life, or basically the 13 years, you know, that I was with this person, I spent that whole time trying to prove to them that I am a good person, you know, that I am someone good. And I was just chasing, you know, like they have the rabbit has, you know, the rabbit is chasing the carrot on the stick. That was me the entire time, just trying to prove, just trying to, and it just kept going further and further away. So I was never going to, you know, get an opportunity to do that, because it's not that they wanted me to prove anything. It's just that the abuse was nicer. To watch the chase was nicer, to see me go through the struggle and the abuse. And, you know, with that being said, I really appreciate how strong I had to be to get up and get out of it, to get better, to be healed, and to now, you know, be a life coach where I can help other people who has gone through stuff like this, you know, men and women who are going through abuse and don't understand what they're dealing with. I want to be able to be that support system for you guys. I want to be able to communicate with you and to be here to assist you in any way that I can possibly. And, you know, check out Relevant Boss's songs and stuff like that. He's on Instagram, right? He's on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. He's on all platforms, you know, check out his information. And, you know, I so appreciate you again for coming on here tonight. This was very, very informative, and I'm sure we've helped at least one person on both of our platforms tonight. And I wish that, you know, you guys have an amazing day. Be blessed, be safe. Thanks for joining Healing Your Silence, collaborating with Relevant Boss, our dancehall artist, right? And a man of his word. Let me tell you, this man, I wouldn't even tell you all about him, but our friendship goes way, way back, and I so appreciate him. Thank you so much, guys. I love you all. Be blessed. Have an amazing night. Be safe out there. And do not forget that you are beautiful just the way you are. And Nessa is here to help you, empower you to becoming your greatest self. Be blessed. Good night, y'all.